Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at how to complete the Joined Forces category Super Battle Road stage. So the Joined Forces category Super Battle Road stage seems like it's a pretty hard hitting stage. It looks like the enemies don't have a lot of health, and so it seems like a kind of stage where it's kind of like come in, hit hard, and be hit hard. So what I've done here is essentially I've built an entirely free-to-play team, barring the lead. Now, in terms of Joined Forces category leads, there's not that many good free-to-play Joined Forces category leads. You don't really have like the most options. Your best team is more than likely going to be the you can look at something like maybe using the World Tournament Yamcha as a Joined Forces category lead, but it's going to be something quite difficult to utilize. So your next best bet is like an 80% Android 17 and 18 lead, which I feel is a tiny bit too low. So what I've done is I've built the entire team as free to play, barring the lead. The lead skill I have chosen is the 150% leader skill that is provided by the Kaioken LR Super Saiyan SS Goku and the Super Saiyan God SS Vegeta. The Kale and the Caulifla skill is 130%, which is just a tiny bit below the other ones, which is okay to use as well, although they aren't necessarily that great for the stage, as there's not too many Universal Survival Saga or Pure Saiyan enemies. They've kind of built the stage to avoid people being able to just obliterate it with them. Okay. So now if we discuss team build, the team build is pretty straightforward. So Joined Forces has some pretty good units, but we've gone for only free-to-play units. Our first free-to-play unit that we are utilizing is the Great Saiyaman unit. Obviously after their EZA, pretty powerful unit. We're talking, raising their attack and defense on their 12 and 18 key, attack and defense 70%, and they give us a 50% defense bonus to our superclass allies. That's pretty good, and that's going to be pretty helpful. The next two major units that we're using are the Prime Battle Boo and Babdi, who are a Majin Buu Saga lead, although it's not really relevant right now. They also have a medium chance of stunning and sealing the enemy on both their 12 and 18 key. They have key and defense of 40,000. They get an additional key and attack and defense of 30,000 when the enemy is in attack down status. I'll talk about that just now. And they also will have an additional super attack if the enemy is sealed, and they have a 5% recovery as well of health, which is also very, very good. So they are a very good pairing. We then have the Wicked Wizard and Lord of the Demon Realm, Babdi and Dabura. They are a battlefield currency unit. We're going to pair them up with Boo and Babdi, and we'll talk about that now. But they have key +3 and attack and defense of 80%, and they also have an additional attack and defense of 40% when the target is in attack down and defense down. They will also, of course, have a high chance of performing a crit if the enemy is stunned or their attack is sealed. They have great synergy with the Boo and Babdi unit because obviously, Boo and Babdi can seal and stun, and obviously Dabura themselves also seal on their 12 key, and they have a high chance of stunning on their 18 key, and also they will have the critical hit chance. Now the reason why these guys are such a great pairing is they share the Master of Magic link, which reduces all enemies defense by 10% and thus procs the enemy defense lowered portion of both of their passives. They also share a lot of other links, which is really, really great. So overall, a really good free-to-play pairing there. Then, of course, in terms of the remaining free-to-play units that we have, so the one that we are going to be using in pairing with the friend unit, which I'll talk about now, is the Teamwork Across Schools, Master Roshi and Tien. They are a attack and defense of 70%, and they gain 20% with each attack received. They also give all reps of Universe 7 allies 40% attack and defense, and they also lower enemies attack and defense and seal them, which is very, very good. So they're a very powerful unit. There's something that's going to be super powerful for us to link with. And then the other unit, although this is probably the unit you can change the most, as I don't really feel like they add that much, and you could possibly run someone else, and we'll talk about those options now. But we're looking at the Krillin and Android 18 unit. They're okay, but honestly speaking, they're probably the unit you can drop the most. Now, in terms of pairings, obviously Boo, Babidi, Deborah, and Babidi, they're going to be linked up on one rotation. But then I would suggest on the other rotation you link up the Tech Master Roshi with the friend lead, depending on who's got more percentage, the friend lead Kaioken Goku and Vegeta. The reason we're taking the friend lead Kaioken Goku and Vegeta over taking a friend lead of say 17 and Frieza is because 17 and Frieza are a good unit, but they take a little bit of time to build up, which is not something we really want. And then, they also can technically, be a little bit dodgy in terms of their active skill activation, and they're not that great at 55%, and I really struggle to find them without being at 55%. I really struggle to find them just in general. So that's for me. You might prefer to take them. In terms of links, they share some decent links with the Tech, Roshi, and Tien. So they could actually be a better linking pairing overall. They share Brainiacs, they share Tough as Nails, they share Solid Support, and I think they also share Tournament of Power, and so they share some decent links and everything, so you can definitely link them up. It's just going to depend on how many dupes you find. If you find 3 dupes in the 17 and Frieza, then be my guest to take them. They're going to be pretty good, so you can kind of choose whichever. I just went with the Goku and Vegeta because at the time I could find a 90% lead, but yeah, it's just going to depend on you. In terms of replacements for the Android 18 and Krillin unit, there's a couple of free-to-play ones you can consider, which will be pretty helpful. And there will be obviously a ton of non-free-to-play options. But in terms of free-to-play options, I think your best bet is probably going to be the Super Saiyan Ghost Tanks or Gotenks and Ghost unit, because they can bring a good amount of stunning with them. Also a decent amount of healing, and since it won't be out that much, the defensive risk is minimal considering the amount of time it takes Android 18 and Krillin to stack up. They're not going to be providing much else, but they will at least be able to generate rainbow orbs as well, which does help the Kaioken Goku and Vegeta unit if those are the ones you are planning on taking. So overall, that's probably the big change I would make, but now the team itself is working quite fine. As you can see so far, we've managed to get through the stage with pretty minimal issues. Not like we've got through without any issues whatsoever, but for the most part we do perfectly fine. The idea is that you really want to try and eliminate one unit completely while sealing and controlling the other unit. So in this situation, you've got quite a few seals that you can utilize. So between the between the Tien and Master Roshi, and between the Deborah and Babidi, and between the Boo and Babidi, you have 3 seals that you can actively operate at any given time. The Goku and Vegeta unit also lowers attack and defense on their, lowers attack on their 12 key, which is also helpful considering they should be getting their 12 key relatively often. And then of course also the the Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 unit, they also have a seal on their 12 key. I almost exclusively use their 12 key. The difference in damage between their 12 and 18 keys is not that great, especially since we're not facing extreme class enemies, so there's no real need to kind of go for damage on them, and having them seal up a unit generally just appears to be a lot easier and better overall than anything else. So I would definitely say that's the best way to go in terms of just like overall decision making and where you kind of want to lie with the team and how you want to utilize them. So yeah, I think that's probably the best situation. But yeah, we're going to enter into the final stage. We do have our Dokkan attack, or we will be able to get our Dokkan attack, which is going to be helpful. In this stage, you're going to want to try and keep your Dokkan attack for the final phase. It's against 4 enemies. Now, this would be a great stage, this portion of it, for the Kale and Caulifla, because they're obviously fighting Pure Saiyans. They're also fighting a Universal Survival Saga Pure Saiyans. So they're triggering the passive twice over, which is really, really good. Kale and Caulifla are a great unit overall. I think they still have aged really well. They just seem to really be able to get a lot of work done in a lot of these situations. I think the stage hits quite hard. I think if you were to run a full LR team, you would probably see better progress, but I think the stage can hit quite hard. But from what I've seen, the units don't have that much health. I've seen regularly Deborah crit on like a 3 or 4 million attack stat and pretty much almost wipe guys out. So it does seem like, you know, they don't have the highest health threshold. Now, is that to say that, for example, it's not a difficult stage? Obviously not. You can see here, you know, we managed to eliminate the frost quite early on, which does help. And we've also managed to obviously keep a lot of items, which is also really going to help us out quite a bit. You do in the beginning want to kind of let the Master Roshi and TN unit sit in the second slot, get their stun off, get their lowering off, let themselves take some hits, kind of generate that passive and really just kind of beef themselves up before you then go about trying to instill a lot of damage or things like that. So it's just going to really depend on you and how you kind of want to go with it. But for me, I think overall this team build works perfectly fine, and it'll get the job done, which I think is really great. But yeah, so the team does pretty well. I'm quite happy with how the team does, and I think overall the Joined Forces Saga Super Battle Road was pretty challenging. I think, yeah, anytime you can do an SBR with almost mainly free-to-play units, it's a good sign. I know a lot of people might disagree with that notion, but I think like to have a Rainbow Babidi and Deborah, to have a Rainbow Prime Battle Boo and Babidi, to have a Rainbow, you know, Physical Easy 8 Great Saiyaman 1 and 2, you know, these are difficult units to come by, and they require a player to invest a lot of time into the game and a lot of effort into the game. So I feel like them being able to perform in the event is honestly more than fine, and them being able to carry the workload is also more than fine. I think also it's just about good structural team build, and I think that can also just, you know, kind of affect how the teams perform and everything like that. But I think for the most part it's a very fair, you know, Super Battle Road stage. I think things definitely could be slightly more challenging. I think maybe they could give them a little bit more health, and in that way people who feel like, you know, these things are too easy because people are doing them with mostly free-to-play teams, you know, you can give them that challenge. But that's also what ESBR is for. That's also what other multiple various, you know, events are for. I just feel like this was a very fairly designed stage, especially considering that the leads, or the best leads, are alive. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Obviously getting the Dokkan attack on the final stage always does help, especially when there's 4 enemies, because that means we can take out a lot of them or deal a lot of damage to all of them. But yeah, the ceiling really worked and really helped in controlling the enemy, and I think overall we did a really nice job. So I'm really happy with the team build. I'm happy with the whole performance. I think we did really well. Obviously we used quite a few items, so if you are going for the no item run, that's your challenge for using a more difficult or a better team, I should say. But I think this is a nice team for people to build off of if they are looking to challenge it as free to play. But that's going to be it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like on it or leave a comment on anything you saw, and I will try and get back to you. But that's going to be it from me. So as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.